Hi there and welcome to a new video on this channel, in this moment and right here. Well, for you right here because I already recorded this a while ago, but yeah, you get me. First off, I'm sick, so if my voice kind of gets weird, I'm sorry for that already. Yeah. The topic I want to talk about today is comparing your own art to other people's. See, that's a topic that's been bothering me myself lately. I've been feeling bad about my art for some time now, and I've been trying to work over that and trying to get better again, and it's sort of working. Like it's getting better again. I started liking my art again, and maybe you can actually work with the things I'm gonna say in this video, and maybe the tricks are gonna help you too. So let's kind of start with some basic stuff. First off, you should know that not everyone has the same basic skill set. Others just learn faster or are better to begin with than we were when we started, but that's okay. Like, that's how it works for some people. And it may seem unfair, but we just have to deal with that and move on, because if we get hung up on that, it's gonna be frustrating until the end. And we don't want that, because if that continues, we will just quit art probably, because there's quite many people who work like that. So yeah, that's a thing we just should get used to. Another thing we have to keep in mind and take into consideration whenever we look at our art is that most of us, not all of us, but most of us have a buggy sort of sense of self. That what I mean with that is we all see our art differently than other people would do. For example, I was recently ranting about one of my artworks, which to me looked really bad because, I don't know, the nose was off or something, and the friend I was ranting to told me that the nose looks perfectly well and that it fits in perfectly well, and I know for a fact that the friend I asked their opinion of, is very honest and doesn't kind of push down the criticism or anything in any way. So other people may come across your art and think that it's really great while you just see the bad things because you just forgot to look at the good things, and that's actually a thing that happens. Like, sometimes you just have to stop and look back at your art and just list off every tiny thing. It doesn't matter how small it is. You just a tiny thing, you have to write all those small things that you think are good. You have to write down, like, oh yeah, that strand of hair that looks really well done, like that it's just one strand of hair that looks like it should, but it does look like it should, like I wanted it to. So just take that and make a list, and someday it will grow the list. Like, someday you will learn to actually look at the stuff that is good in your art. You won't be able to do that from the start probably, because we're all still stuck in that view of ourselves and view of our own makings. And that's a thing you should also take into consideration. Your art never looks the same to someone else than it does to you. Which gets me to the next point. Everyone's art is so different because we all see things differently. We feel things differently, and we just take them in differently. For me, nature is a complete different picture than for my brother or my neighbor. That's what we put into our art. It's the way we see things. That's why we all have such different art styles, because we see things and we feel things differently than the other person. And that's a really fascinating and important part of it. Like, I feel like it's very important to know that that's why we draw differently. Our point of view and our picture of the world, it's all different. So we all have different art styles. And never forget how much effort and love and feelings you put into your pictures, even if it's unconsciously. Like, we all do that. It doesn't matter if it's just a stick figure because you're bored, because that's also an emotion and you put that into it. Like, there's tiny parts of your personality and yourself in your art, and it's really great. So that's something you should keep in mind. That's kind of part of you. That art is part of you, and it's great because you thought something while you were doing it. And even if it was just like, damn, I really hate that teacher, I really gotta draw them now in a very unflattering way. That's still a thought, it still counts, and it still makes your art beautiful. Anyways, that's the 3 things you have to keep in mind. Not everyone has the basic skill sets as other people do. We have a buggy sort of sense of ourselves, and art is part of ourselves. That's the things you have to keep in mind. And now that that's done and spoken of, I'm gonna get to the things that actually helped me get a bit better with my perception of my art. So I'm gonna list 3 things I do when I get into such a deep now. The first one is, look at the drawing you're comparing your art to in a different way. Don't just look at it and envy the artist for their skills. Look at what makes the artist's work so good to you. Do you like the way they draw the hair or maybe the eyes? And then look, how would it work in your style? How could you draw eyes similar to that? Or maybe just draw eyes like that and keep practicing those. And eventually you'll kind of work out your own style with that. So don't just envy the person that drew that or the artwork itself. Try taking the things that you really like about it and put it on your own art. I know that some people are like, no, that's copying and not right, but first off, as long as you're crediting the artist and they're okay with it, maybe you can ask them if it's okay if you'd use their style for some experimenting. And second off, if you don't just copy pictures and say it's yours, always give credit, then it's gonna be fine. And don't be rude if the artist says, I don't want that, because that's a thing you have to accept. Anyways, on with it. So just take those things, put them on your own art, and work with them until you have kind of developed your own way of drawing those, of making them the way you like them at other people's art. The next step is going to be a bit hard for the people that have difficulties with asking for validation. Because the second step is go to your friends and ask them to criticize your art, but like constructive criticism, because other criticism won't work at all. Just ask them what they think about your pictures. Let them list what they like about them, what they think you could do better. But if you're kind of really deep into that phase, you don't need to hear that. You don't need to hear what you could do better. So just ask them for some simple positive things about your art. They'll do it. Just ask them. It's important to ask for that sometimes, and it's not needy or attention seeking. It's just, we all need validation sometimes. It's completely okay. It's completely normal. That's how humans work. We need contact and people who tell us that we are doing great, because that's how psychology works. We get happy because of that. Ask for their opinion, or ask what you did good about that. You could also just post that thing and just ask for comments on it. That's what I did, and people commented on my picture, and it was really uplifting. Like, it helped a lot, and it made me so happy to hear that. So just ask. Just ask. Someone will do it, and especially the people close to you won't have any problems with doing that. Trust me. The last point is probably the most obvious one. Look at your art from last year or the year before last year and so on, and compare it to your current art. That's a thing you should always do once in a while. Just look at those, compare them, lay them next to each other. That's also the only art you should compare yourself to your own. Lay them next to each other and list. I know I say that a lot, but listing is important because you have something solid in front of you that you can just read, and then it's there. It's a fact. And list all the things that changed in general, and then the things that got better. Not everything that changes gets better, but your art style changes a lot, so there's some stuff that you just draw differently, and a lot of stuff that gets better, because the more you draw, the better you get. and you draw and draw and draw and draw, and sometimes it's even enough to just take a drawing from 2 or 3 months ago and compare it with your current one, because sometimes we just have those huge leaps of progressing of our art. That's very important to do. With that, I'm actually done. That's all the stuff I can say to that right now. I mean, I did talk for over 10 minutes now. Anyways, I hope I could help you, and please leave a comment with the stuff that you use, because I'm still in need of tips and tricks for this, for when this happens, and I never quite know how to deal with it. Or share your stories with how you got over it or how you're stuck in it right now. Just write this stuff in the comments. If you like this video, I post stuff like this every 2 weeks. Just click the subscribe button. That would make me happy. You can also just write me a mail. I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna chat with you if you want to. And yeah, then I'll see you next video, which will be a speed paint. Thanks for watching.